Welcome to the Trading Sliders Podcast. Here we go, episode number 36 of the Trading Sliders Podcast. How's everybody doing out there? I am Bobby Puckett. Not in studio with me this week is Kurt the Flash Bennett because he is actually on a family vacation. We left the races last night, went two different ways. Him, his wife, and his grandson are on their way to Myrtle Beach. But with me in /studio/remote, our racing correspondent. If you're on here every week and you hear me say, I've got some racing rundowns from my buddy Jackson Barber, our racing correspondent on remote, going to try to help us out. Thanks for coming on this week, Jackson.
Yeah, thank you, Bobby, for letting me come on and ready to talk about some racing today, I guess.
So you guess, that's what I'm talking about. But before we get started, each and every week we like to thank our sponsors. Diesel Boys LLC, our title sponsor. If you need any diesel truck related work, get a hold of Brandon Hooker and them at Diesel Boys. They're in Southern Indiana. They help out each and every week. We couldn't do this without them. Our Deep Dives is being brought to you by Kentucky Clutch and Performance. If you need anything, farms, trucks, cars, any type of automotive clutch, get a hold of Chris and the guys at Kentucky Clutch and Performance. Our Slider of the Week is being brought to you each and every week by Walt at Speed Decals. Walt's been a continuous sponsor since day one. We really appreciate that. And our Crash of the Week, which is a nasty one this week, brought to you by D.O. Handyman and Remodeling. If you need any type of handyman remodeling work in Southern Indiana and Louisville area, decks, windows, vinyl siding, anything like that, call David at D.O. Handyman Remodeling, 812-989-5002. As we say each and every week, please support the people that support us. So if you need any type of that work, automotive work, diesel truck work, vinyl signs, any type of handyman work, please consider the guys that help us each and every week go up and down the road. See, Jackson, this is where I normally screw up and I forget to mention our guest. But this week's guest is none other than Vic Hill, five-time Volunteer Late Model Track Champion, and better known for Vic Hill Racing Engines, builds engines for drivers all around the country. So I did all right. I got all the spill out, didn't I?
Oh, yeah.
See, you didn't know how all this worked, did you? You thought we was just going to come on and bullshit.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I did not.
See, now we got to be all professional and stuff. So this week's news, we're going to talk about the Modified World Championships, $100K to win. Another reason why I wanted to have Jackson on this week, because he is a modified guru. He knows some modified guys that I don't even know. Sometimes he surprises me with the stats. So we're going to talk about the Modified World Championship. And then USAC, non-wing sprint cars, was at the sprint car capital of the world. So USAC made their way over to Knoxville. We're going to cover that. Something that I'm glad we're really going to discuss now that Jackson's on, because we've had this discussion off air, so to speak, but racers being their own worst enemy, supporting divisions, supporting classes, supporting races, why racers do what. And then next week is probably one of the best weeks in racing that there is. USAC Indiana Midget Week and the Dirt Late Model Dream all next week. So we'll get into that in upcoming events. But first things first, we're going to start off on a sad note. Mike Eddy, the 7-time ASA champion, a short track legend, passed away this past week. So thoughts and prayers to Mike Eddy and his family. So there's all that. So Jackson, where do you want to start this week? I'm going to ask you first. Where do you want to start this week?
I think we got to start off with the big one, the Modified World Championship at Mississippi Thunder.
You want to talk about the Modified World Championship first? All right, because we'll segue into the racers being their own worst enemy out of that. How about that?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
All right, so Mississippi Thunder, I think they had 134 cars pre-entered. I think they ended up with 92 to 94-ish, depending on what night it was. First off, about the Mississippi Thunder event, $100,000 to win. Actually, let's get technically correct. $100,025 to win. 93 cars, UMP, USRA, how you say it, Wasota Modifieds, and USMT.
Yes,
so all the rules combined together. 2 features each night on preliminary nights on Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday was the big one, $100,000 to win. But we'll start on Thursday. Thursday night, preliminary A number 1 was taken by Drake Troutman. He started 4th and took the win. Josh Angst ran 2nd, and Kurt Spalding ran 3rd. So right off the bat, we're gonna get talking about tires. UMP was two of the top 3 on the podium with the Hoosiers. So what do you think about the tires there, Jackson?
I think that the tires was obviously a big question going into this event, even when they started it last year. But I think the UMP guys proved last year that even though the tires are different, that they can still put up a fighting chance out there. And I think they proved that all week out there.
Well, the main thing this week was last week last year when they had this race, it was 1,000 degrees. It was absolutely terribly hot. And this year, it was much cooler, much wetter, much crummier. So I don't think the tires was as big of an issue this year because once you get on crumbs and you're not racing in the slick or the rubber as much, the tires you just throw that out the door. It really doesn't matter at that point.
I guess that will make a difference, but still the UMP guys going out there and showing what they can do was still pretty impressive to me. Not a lot of UMP guys go out there and race like those guys, so being out there and being able to compete was impressive.
Yeah, and you're going to wave your flag for the UMP guys because you're a UMP guy at heart. But A feature number 2, another UMP driver, quite possibly one of the best modified drivers in the country, Tyler Nicely, took the win over Jake Timms and Cade Dillard. But the story of this race had nothing to do with Nicely, Timms, or Dillard. It was Dustin Sorensen, who ran 5th, started 16th in the A main to run 5th, which is impressive itself, but nowhere near impressive as starting 15th in the B main and winning because he had problems on his heat race where the car broke a distributor.
That was not a lot of people talked about that, but if you go back and look, that was 100% the most impressive of the night. I mean, 15th to 1st in the B main, and I'm pretty sure it was 19th to 5th in the feature. That's pretty impressive run against those type of guys, and good run for him.
Well, and another thing that I want to talk about this, because Flow Racing had a conjunction with Racing Dirt, because we've always talked about Flow and Dirt Vision not playing nice together, but Racing Dirt and Flow did a great job to bring us this event. I'm so thankful for Modified Racing on a Thursday night, Modified Racing on a Friday night, Modified Racing on a Sunday night. So hopefully going forwards, we'll get some US MTS stuff on Flow with some conjoint stuff. I know you would like that.
Yes, I would, and I think it's good for these streaming platforms to work together. There's no need to go against each other. I mean, they're all playing the same game, but if they'll work together, maybe more events and more stuff can happen in the sport.
Yeah, like $100,000 to win open wheel modified race.
Right. Yes.
We will take that for sure. One notable about this though, Kyle Strickler ran his US MTS car Thursday night, and then Friday night he switched over to his UMP car.
Yeah, I noticed that, and I don't know what the rules is on that, the switching cars or not, but
well, he qualified both cars. So Wednesday night he qualified, because Wednesday night they qualified for Thursday's events and Friday's events. So he had this plan going in that he was going to run both cars, and whatever car locked in is the one he was going to run.
Oh, I didn't know that he qualified both cars, so that makes more sense than him just switching on Friday night and running better than he did in his US MTS car.
Yeah, no, he qualified both cars Wednesday night. They had both cars out, and he qualified both, and that was a plan going into it. I think last year he felt like he got burned just a little bit on a tire choice, so he had both cars ready to go, and that was a plan. And I'm honestly surprised some more guys like Cole Karnaski, Jake Tim, Cade Dillard, because they have both sets of cars. I'm honestly surprised, more guys did not do that.
Yeah, that does make sense, and it's honestly a smart choice because it shows what you got, and which one's better is which one you're going to go with. And so I think that's honestly a pretty smart choice.
Now let's talk about Friday night. Friday night, A main number 1, Lucas Lee took the win over Kyle Strickler and Tom Berry Jr. Tom Berry Jr. started 9th and ran 3rd in his US MTS car. But UMP was 1st and 2nd with Lucas Lee and Kyle Strickler. They went back and forth. This may have been actually the best race of the weekend, back and forth. And I think Strickler just started running the top way too hard and, lost ground there at the end.
Yes, I agree. I think the top in 1 or 2 was there for him. He started circling the bottom in 3 and 4, about midway through the race and actually pulled away a little bit. And then I remember in his interview, he said something about he thought that he just didn't have enough off the bottom. So he tried to go back to the cushion, and it just didn't work out for him. I think if he had stayed on the bottom in 3 and 4, I think he would have won that race.
Well, by the time he went to the cushion, it was a long way around there in 3 and 4. I mean, it was because when he was running the cushion at the beginning, it was kind of mid groove because of all the moisture. But as the race went on, when he went back up there, he had an extra 30 feet of racetrack he had to cover on the top. So it was I think it was just such a long way around.
Yeah, that hurt him for sure.
I think he led 20 laps. Lucas Lee got by him with like 5 to go. He led most of the race. If it wasn't 20, he was real close to it.
Yeah, he led, majority of the race, and he even said it like he should have won it, and he gave it up.
Well, and in A feature number 2, there was no discussion this one. It was all Tanner Mullins. Tanner Mullins took the win over Jim Chisholm and Trip Gaylord, but Tanner Mullins he was checked out. He was in a different area code for this whole A main.
Yeah, he was. He was fast in that feature, and he showed all night that he had the car to win in that feature.
Moving on to Saturday, 80 laps, $100,000 to win. First off, what did you think about the break? Do you like a halfway break, or do you wish they would have just ran it on through?
I kind of wish they'd have just ran it all the way through. I think it makes it more exciting, and I think it would have been a better show for the fans if you go all the way through.
So that's kind of where I'm at on that. I was thinking if they were worried about fuel, just make it a 60 lapper. Because I know it used to be, at first they talked about it being a 100 lapper, then they bumped it down to 80. I mean, if you're worried about fuel, make it, 60, 65. But there wasn't no caution. I mean, I think there was 3 cautions in the whole race, and they started 11 rows deep, 3 wide. Your dad wouldn't care for a start like that, would he?
No, I don't think so. But no, that's the thing that I actually thought was coolest about it. The 3 wide, man, you don't see that, and that's just really cool that they do that, and I like that, and I think that.
Well, that's the way they start the IMCA Super Nationals every year out in Boone, Iowa, and it's on a 3rd-mile racetrack. It's a lot smaller track than what they have. They start to feature like that, 33 cars, 11 rows deep, 3 wide for the IMCA Super Nationals. They start that the same way out there.
Yeah, I think around here you couldn't do that, but I think more out there with those type of cars, I feel like that's I think it makes it funner. I mean, 3 wide to start. I mean, you don't see that, and that's pretty cool to me.
So what you're saying is I'm converting you. You don't want qualifying. You like passing points, and now you like 3 wide starts.
Well, I'm going to be honest. If my dad's racing, I enjoy the qualifying because I normally don't draw a good pill. But if he's not, it does make for better racing.
Yeah. Well, that's fair enough. I'll give you that one. $100,000 to win. Drake Troutman took the win over Jim Chisholm and Tyler Nicely. Chisholm started, I think, 8th or 9th and ran 2nd. Tanner Mullins started off early and led, but I don't know if I think I read somewhere he busted a right rear shock or something because, I mean, he faded bad. And when he started fading, it was real quick. It wasn't like a tire went away because once they made the halfway break, he was still fading. So he had some kind of mechanical issue, but Tanner Mullins led early, but when Troutman got by Mullins, I kind of thought it was over. He was kind of set and sail, but Jim Chisholm made a race out of it at the end. Chisholm was, throwing Hail Marys, but Tyler Nicely, I seen where he just got too tight and couldn't do nothing with them. But overall, track stayed good for the whole feature, and I thought the Mississippi Thunder Valley crew did great all weekend with the weather because a lot of people would have canceled earlier anyways with as much rain as they got. And they didn't. They made sure the event happened, and I thought they did really good with track prep all week and gave the guys a good track to run on for the 80-lap A main.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm glad to see Troutman win it because I am a UMP guy, and 2 UMP guys on the podium. I think that's pretty awesome, but that's hard to adjust for 80 laps. You never know what the track's going to do, how it's going to change. Is it going to take rubber? Is it going to do this? And I think that you've got to be prepared to be there at the end, and I think those guys did a good job of adjusting to the track. And the Mississippi Thunder people, they had a great track all week.
Well, so usually we give the slider of the week to, somebody that that pulls off a crazy move or a big slide job. Obviously, slider of the week, a big slider for the lead. But this week's slider of the week, brought to you by Speed Decals, is going to be Mississippi Thunder Raceway and Drake Troutman. First off, Mississippi Thunder Raceway for taking a gamble, putting $100,000 to win modified race. And not only that, they paid out big money all week. Both qualifying features each night paid $2,500 to win. The non-qualifiers race after the A main Saturday paid $2,500 to win, and it paid $2,500 to start the $100,000 to win race. So this week's slider of the week is going to go to Mississippi Thunder Valley, the whole crew, Flo, Racing Dirt, Trenton Berry, everybody involved in the racetrack. That's going to be this week's slider of the week. You don't have no complaints of that being slider of the week this week, do you?
No, I think he deserves it for sure.
So one thing I want to discuss, we're going to get into this weekend shenanigans. That's kind of what we call our racing road trips every week. Jackson made the way to Brownstown and seen more race cars at Brownstown than he's seen all year, 4 tracks combined. And then I made my way down to Mountain View this weekend. But before we get into that, one thing I do want to talk about, racers being their own worst enemy, because Jackson and I, we go back and forth with this all the time. Last week on the show, I said, guys, if you like racing Brownstown and Bloomington and you like running big paying modified races, get out and support these events. And the same thing with the guys in the Southeast. If you like running for good money, get out and support the Cumberland Plateau Open Wheel Modified Series. Well, we had major support this week. I think you guys had 39 cars at Brownstown, and we ended up with 24 mods at Mountain View. And with that being said, we had 65 cars between the two racetracks. I don't know if people are listening to me and said, "Hey, we're going to do that," or if it's just the way it goes down, because we do need to get out and support these racetracks. Jackson, how do you feel about supporting big events?
It's really important because you put all this money up, and if you don't show up and support, that don't happen, and then people complain that, well, why aren't they doing it again this year? Why is it not this much money? This and that. But if you don't support, and not even just the drivers, the fans, if you don't go to the grandstands and buy a ticket, you can't afford to have that race again. And so I think that it's really important to support these big shows.
Well, and that's the reason why I say this, because racers all the time will say, we need bigger races. We need bigger paying purses. And then the racetrack will go out on the limb. I don't care what track it is. You take Podunk in South Africa. It doesn't matter what track it is. But the promoters go out and put together a major purse. And then all of a sudden, guess what? You get 16 cars show up because, the local guys, well, we're not going to race against the touring guys. I don't understand why guys dodge competition and do not support the higher paying races. We have higher paying races all the time in our area, and it seems like the car count is just the same that the local shows get for the most part. I mean, they'll bump up a little bit, but I think a lot of guys now are, they look at the finances of it, and I think a lot of guys are just don't want to race against competition, especially in Eastern Tennessee and Southeastern Kentucky. There's a lot of guys that, should support certain events. I mean, who am I to tell you what you should or shouldn't support? Because, it's not my money. It's your money. So you got to do what's financially, makes sense for you. But there's a lot of events in, East Tennessee, the West Virginia area, Southeastern Kentucky, especially for open wheel modifieds and crate late models as well, pro late models. There's a lot of events that I think should get more support, and guys just don't work together on that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was in April, Lake Cumberland had a $3,000 to win American All-Star Crate Series race, and Rock Castle, it was the night of the Cumberland Plateau Open Wheel Modified Series. The crates at Rock Castle paid $1,200, and Lake Cumberland paid $3,000 for the crates, and they had the same amount of cars, and that just don't make sense to me personally. But What do you think about it, Bobby?
Well, here's the thing. Um, I know a lot of times when a series, because I work for a series, I work for the Cumberland Plateau Open Modified Series, and just like this week, we go down to Mountain View Raceway, and we had a stacked, I mean, an absolute loaded field. We had some travelers that don't really run with our series that much, but were hitting races in between other races. We had cars out of far western Kentucky, Illinois area, all the way to Mooresville, North Carolina. So as a series, as a guy that works for a touring series, I see this a lot. I see the local guys say, "Well, I can't run with driver X, so I'm not going this week." And to me, that's as a former competitor myself, I think that's mind-boggling because if the best guys in the region are coming to my area, and this is my racetrack where I race every week, I want to defend my home turf and try to put
And
it to and try to put it to them. So I don't understand that. I've never. I think it's just a newer generation thing. I don't understand.
yeah, I guess some of it's got to do with money, but at the same time, like as good as like the Cumberland Plateau Series pays throughout the field, like if you was to run third or fourth, and if you was to run second on a regular show, you make more money running third or fourth than let's say second or third on a regular show. And I just don't understand why people would dodge the competition and go somewhere else for less money and less payout.
Well, I'll show you. I'll tell you one even better. So last week, this week we're at Mountain View. Last week we were at Bulls Gap. Um, Bulls Gap had some elevated purses because some sponsors donated money. If you ran seventh last week at Bulls Gap, you made more money than winning almost all open wheel modified features in East Tennessee on a regular payout. So if you run just inside the top 10, you got paid more money than you would if you went to a local show. So that's one of those things where you don't really understand why guys do what they do. But in the same token, it's not my money. So if they want to go run there, so be it. Support every racetrack. I'm not saying not to support racetracks, but we need to support the bigger events. If not, all we're going to have is smaller events.
I agree, but I also want to say that I don't think that it's all the driver's fault. I think that the tracks, I think that's a big part, especially in the Kentucky area. The track owners and promoters don't really work together that well. And I feel like if somebody's got a big race, shut your track down that night or run Friday night, something I don't understand why they don't try to help each other more because, first off, that lowers your car count and very well could lower your fans in the stands. So if people would just help each other out more, especially the promoters, I think that we could see a lot better outcome at these bigger races.
Well, here's one thing. Vic Hill, our guest this week, he talks about this in our interview. He's saying you can't shut down for everybody. He understands that. I mean, if you're running the racetrack and the racetrack is your business, I mean, your main priority is you're concerned about your racetrack. You're not concerned about what the other racetrack's doing. But in the same token, everybody needs to work together, be on the same page. If let's just say Lake Cumberland Speedway has a $3,000 to win crate race. We're not telling Rockcastle and Richmond they shouldn't race that night, but why don't you not run crates that night and have a bigger paying modified race or a KDRA street stock race or bring in you know what I'm saying? Like the guys need to work together. We don't closing the doors isn't the answer because if you only race twice a month, you can't worry about what the other guy's doing, just on a business motto. But you also got to pay attention to what you're doing too.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's also a good thing. Like if you if the mods pay $2,000 at Lake Cumberland, don't run mods at Rockcastle. Don't run mods at Richmond. Just help each other out, and so we can get this support for what these guys need, and they need support because this stuff is hard and it's not cheap. Especially these promoters, they work hard every week trying to get their track ready, and when people don't show up to support, it's a huge letdown.
Yeah. So, but I'm glad we had support this week. You had support at Brownstown. I had support where I was at. So that was just something I wanted to touch on. We're gonna jump into Knoxville real quick, and then we'll talk about this weekend shenanigans. Knoxville Raceway, Friday and Saturday. The Corn Bout Clash, $10,000 to win Friday and $15,000 to win Saturday. 32 USAC National Sprint cars in the house. Jackson, I know you're a late model modified guy, but I'm slowly, steadily trying to turn you into a sprint car guy. This would have been an event you would like to go to. 410 non-wing sprint cars, 410 wing sprint cars, 360 wing sprint cars, both nights, all at one racetrack.
I am a late model and mod guy, but the non-wing sprint cars, I have to say, are pretty awesome. The wings, they're cool, but something about the non-wing, the big sliders, just everything, they just get me, and I really do enjoy the sprint cars.
So Knoxville Raceway, we had 32 sprints. Brady Bacon took the win over last week's guest on the trading sliders, Briggs Danner and Chase Stocking. This race here was phenomenal. Probably the race of the weekend out of all the events was Friday night. I really thought last week's guest, Briggs Danner, was going to get him a victory. He just got tight on the cushion, and he tried to turn down and go underneath Stocking. And when he did, Brady Bacon got by both of them. And once Macho Man gets to the lead, there's no turning back.
Yeah, Brady Bacon, he's always fast. He's made some 410 wing starts this season. And so I think he was at Volusia when I was at Volusia, and you always see him around, sometimes in the Indiana, sometimes Illinois area. But Brady Bacon is a wheelman for sure.
Yeah, he this year he's running like 75 races. I think 35 to 40 of them are in the wing car, and then he's running close to 30 in the non-wing car. He's running all the major non-wing races, but I seen where him and his family just got on the road. They're going to be on the road for 33 straight days racing. They're not racing 33 straight nights, but they're going to be on the road. There's a couple of off days. Well, we call them off days. They call them travel days, where they may end up in Minnesota the next night, But Saturday at Knoxville Raceway, this is where DO Handyman and Remodeling Crash of the Week is coming in. So if you need any type of remodeling around your house and you're in the southern Indiana, Louisville area, reach out to DO Handyman and Remodeling, 812-989-5002. But the Crash of the Week comes, and I'll put it up on the Facebook page and everything. I'm sure if you've been on Facebook, you've seen it. USAC and Flo have put it out about 100 times. But CJ Leary and Brady Bacon were racing for second, and Bacon got underneath Leary going down the backstretch, and they hit going in turn 3, and both cars flipped multiple times. I'm going to say close to probably 6 or 7. But with Brady Bacon, I mean, hitting the right front hard, and his first flip was a nasty flip.
It was a nasty flip, and that's the thing about the sprint cars, man. When they're flipping for sure, and
especially there, especially at Knoxville, because you're carrying a ton of speed.
Yeah, you're carrying a lot of speed, and when those sprint cars hit, especially the non-wing, they really do flip hard.
When shit happens, it happens fast there. It's one of those ones you're just holding on for the ride.
Yeah, that place is so big and so fast that anybody that wrecks, no matter what kind of car, I mean, if you wreck, you're gonna wreck hard.
Yeah, I remember Jimmy Owens had a bad late model wreck there about 5 or 6 years ago. Him and Jason Fager on the same night, both put it in the fence for the late model Knoxville Nationals. So, but that's what went on. So Saturday, I'm gonna let you start, Jackson. You went to Brownstown Saturday for the Northern All-Star Late Models and Modifieds. Tell us, I think there was 40 super late models and 39 modifieds. Fill us in on the show, what you seen, because you were texting me. We were back and forth. You're kind of, like I said, you're my guru, my brother from another mother that's always taking care of me. So, what happened at Brownstown this week?
Brownstown, it was a little different than normal. Not the top you kind of see normally at Brownstown, but there was 40 Northern All-Star late models, 39 mods. Cameron Marler went fast time Group A. Hudson O'Neill was fast time in Group B. in the modifieds, Nick Allen went fast time Group A, and quick time overall. Shout out to B time, quick time, and Group B for Ben Harmon. In heat race action, Cameron Marler, David Webb, Josh Rice, and Hudson O'Neill won their heat races. Nick Allen, Adam Stricker, Ben Harmon, and Ryan Thomas won the 4 mod heats. They had $1,000 dash for cash. They inverted the top 4. Rice started on the pole, but Hudson O'Neill was able to win that from the outside front row, putting Hudson O'Neill and David Webb on the front row. The track had a little character. It had rained a lot.
Kind of the common thread this weekend.
Yeah, it was. But Hudson O'Neill got out front early. Cameron Marler was making the top work early. It just went away on him. It was dirty, crummy kind of. And Rice, I'm going to be honest, I've never seen Josh Rice win a race when the right rear quarter panel and spoiler is not knocked off. But he won right around the bottom and smoked them in the 50-lap, 42nd annual Hoosier Dirt Classic. Tanner English ran second. Jason Jameson ran third. Justin Ratliff fourth. And Joseph Joyner rounded out your top 5. But I want to give a shout-out to Justin Ratliff. He's ran, I'm pretty sure, 3 races this year. He's got a third, a second, and a fourth. And as much as he races, he's doing a pretty good job this season.
Well, another thing about that, too, all 3 races that he's ran have all been special events. It wasn't like he showed up at a local, local late model show. I mean, every race was a big event.
Yeah, he's ran 3 big events, the Johnny Wheeler Memorial, the race last week at Mudlick, and the Hoosier Dirt Classic, and 3 top 5s for as much as he races is pretty impressive. In the modifieds, it was all Ben Harmon early. He led the first 12 laps, or led the first, actually probably the first 15, 16, and Ryan Thomas, they had a caution with 8 to go, and Ryan Thomas just started working that middle, and he was good enough to get a good drive, and he eventually just made the pass, and Ben Harmon didn't give up. He put a good fight, but at the end it was Ryan Thomas, Ben Harmon, and Matt Hamilton rounding out your podium.
So overall, good show?
Yeah, it was. It was a good show. 167 cars. They started at 6:30, and we didn't leave till 1:30, but there was really nothing they could do. Shout out to them. They took no breaks at all, no intermission, and they went straight on, and they did all they could for as many cars as they got.
Well, here's the thing. If you've been to Brownstown, and everybody that hasn't been to Brownstown, they hear us talk about Brownstown on here all the time. But if you've been to Brownstown Speedway, they do not dick around. Brownstown Speedway, once the cars hit the racetrack, they are good, they're set, and they are running the show. But if you got 200 race cars, you're just gonna be at the track longer. That just is what it is. That's better than the other option of not having any cars at the racetrack.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they did all they could, and I'm glad they had that many cars. I mean, that was an awesome turnout, packed stands. I mean, it was a great night at Brownstown.
All right. So there's the Brownstown report. Me and Flash, like I said, Flash is on his way to Myrtle Beach. Actually, he should be at Myrtle Beach right about now as we're recording this. But me and Flash, we made our way down to Mountain View Raceway. And this week's racetrack spotlight is going to be the Mountain View Raceway in Spring City, Tennessee, a quarter mile, 32 degrees of banking, red clay, just an ultra bad fast little bull ring. One of the most beautiful settings of all racetracks in the country. I put some, another thing too that I forgot to mention. We're starting to do some short media clips at the racetrack, race day reports and stuff. We've got some new equipment and we're trying some stuff out. Once we figure it all the way out, we'll do more in-depth race day reports and stuff. But if you go back and check out the Trading Sliders podcast or Bobby Puckett, or Kurt Bennett, all of us, we've shared it. But you can see the racetrack and you see how it's nestled in the hillsides there in East Tennessee. It's an absolute beautiful racetrack. I know, Jackson, you didn't get to make it down there last year because we got rained out on the way down there. So that was the weekend that we ended up at Sonoya. and you learn that when you go to the racetrack with me, you better have a lot of extra clothes because we may be gone for 3 days.
Yeah, I was I would like to go to Mountain View. I was supposed to go last year, and me and Bobby ended up in Sonoya, Georgia, in a tornado.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad, but we actually got to see some good racing down there, and we had never been to Sonoya, so it made for a good trip.
Yeah, made for a good trip. Like I said, when you go to the racetrack with me, you never know what's going to happen. This week we were at Mountain View Raceway, and like, one cool thing, they got a kids play area in the pits, Jackson. That's we got to get kids involved in races. And Mountain View's got a junior front wheel drive division, so it's 16 and under. They've got a whole front wheel drive class to get kids involved, and for the kids even younger than that, they got a play area in the pits. It's all fenced off, whole playground area. And this is one thing that you will appreciate as well. Their bathrooms are all state of the art, clean, but air conditioned bathrooms at a dirt track. How does that sound?
That sounds a lot better than what we got around home, I'll tell you that.
Well, that's putting it quite frankly. So the Cumberland Plateau Open Wheel Modified Series was there. 24 mods. I want to give a shout out to the whole staff there at Mountain View, everybody in the tower, everybody working the racetrack, especially the kid named, I think his name is Silas. I screwed his name up all night, but I'm pretty sure it's Silas. He's 15 years old. This is his first year doing solo announcing. He's announcing, but he's been announcing since he was 8 years old at the racetrack, doing some front wheel drive stuff and some mini stock stuff. But this is his first year doing solo announcing. So, got to help him along a little bit through the night. He's a super cool kid, very knowledgeable, kind of like yourself there, Jackson. Knows a lot about dirt racing. I told Silas that I'd give him a shout out, but the whole crew and staff there was very accommodating and helped us run our show as smooth as possible. We had 24 mods. Blake Brown took the win over Adam Ogle and Jacob Hall. I want to give a shout out to Adam Ogle. He made the 14.5-hour drive from Mississippi Thunder Valley overnight to compete with the Cumberland Plateau Open Wheel Modified Series. They went to the 100K modified race and had some car problems and hightailed it back to Tennessee so he can run one of his local tracks. But Corbin, Kentucky's Blake Brown took the win. Blake pretty much beat these guys in traffic. It's a quarter mile ultra high bank, slicked off with I say it had a cushion, but it had fluff up there, and nobody went up there to the end of the race. I think Colton Profit went up there and picked up a couple positions. But like I said, Blake Brown won, and Adam Ogle was second, and Jacob Hall. Jacob Hall still with his third place finish. He's still going to continue the points lead heading into our next event, which is June 13th and 14th for the Cumberland Plateau Open Modified Series. We will be at the Beckley Motor Speedway for the Beckley Bash. It's $2,000 to win on Friday night and $4,000 to win on Saturday night. So if you're an open wheel modified driver in East Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia, southeastern Ohio, East Tennessee, come check out the Beckley Motor Speedway for the Beckley Bash. $2,000 to win, $4,000 to win on a cool 3/8 mile high banked racetrack. If you're from our area, it races a lot like Rock Castle. If you've never been there, it's got the same shape as Rock Castle. I think you run. Well, last year when we was there, Brandon Berry showed everybody that you could run the wall all the way around the racetrack. So looking forward to that. Anything else you got from Brownstown that you want to talk about before we get off here and listen to this week's deep dive?
No, not really. Just, I mean, if you don't like Brownstown, I think it's crazy. It was mostly bottom dominant, but a couple guys showed you could get out, roll a second groove, and Brownstown's always fun. And I'm glad they had the mods back. I wish they ran the mods a lot more. So I'm glad we got to make the trip up there this year.
All right. And I probably should have put this in the intro too, but Jackson Barber is the son of Brian Barber, the owner of Bandit Race Cars. What is your guys' next event? You know what you guys got planned up coming up, or is it you just wait till what Dad tells you and that's where you go?
Well, I kind of like to think that I get to make the schedule, but I don't. I tried to talk him into doing a couple more things this year, but I think our next event is going to be June 14th at Lake Cumberland Speedway. Pays $1,500. Then after that, I do know that we're going to North Alabama for the Cumberland Plateau race, 2,000 Friday night, $5,000 Saturday night. So I think that'll be an awesome event, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. We'll discuss that one again here next week. But I really appreciate Jackson for coming on, helping out this week. Like I said, while Flash was on vacation, we had a substitute fill in, and Jackson's he's wanting to do some more of these. So we're gonna work out a deal where we get Jackson on and at least give us a rundown, even if it's something short and sweet. Give us a rundown. But we really appreciate Jackson coming on. We're gonna get off here and listen to this week's deep dives. It's Vic Hill, racetrack promoter, engine builder, five-time Volunteer Speedway track champion. And then we'll come back after that with upcoming events. Thank you for coming on, Jackson.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Bobby. And thanks to everybody for listening to Bobby. He's worked hard on this deal, and he deserves everybody's support to listen to this.
It's time for the Trading Sliders Deep Dives presented by Kentucky Clutch and Performance. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. On this week's Trading Sliders Deep Dives, we have the man who's yelling at his workers as we speak.
I'm trying to get one to go up there, and of course, monkey see, monkey do.
Well, the good news is he's running in the middle right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he needs to.
We'll wave him down here. First off, this is Vic Hill, the man that wears many hats, right here in the middle of the backstretch while we're packing / watering / preparing the racetrack.
Yeah.
He's got so much shit going. Look, he read your mind.
Yeah. He saw my hand.
Yeah. Well,
he watches.
I don't know how we're on the inside wall here. Yeah. But Vic Hill, we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule and coming on the podcast. Thank you, sir.
Yep. You're welcome. You're welcome.
First off, I always ask every one of our guests a super hard question, but that's how we start off to break the ice. But I'm not even going to do that with you because everybody associates you with Scott Bloomquist, Bobby Pierce, and what's really crazy is a lot of people don't realize this. You got into motorsports and you had names like Yarborough, Earnhardt.
Oh yeah.
So how in the world do you make the jump from NASCAR to dirt? Because most people do it the other way.
Well, basically, way back when, I grew up down here in Sevierville, and my family, like my grandfather was chief of staff at Fort Sanders Hospital, Dr. Victor Hill, named me after him. My brother was a doctor.
Hold on, I don't want to cut you off, but hold on. So he's the doctor.
Yeah.
And you are not a doctor.
No.
Okay.
No. I decided I didn't want to be a doctor, and honestly, like Bulls Gap here and all the racetracks around, my family, we didn't go to races. I just saw it on television all the time. And when I'd hot rod around, do all that shit in high school. Anyway, when it came time to go to college, I told them, I said, well, I don't want to be a doctor. I said, I want to race. And they looked at me like I'd lost my mind. And mom's madder than hell. And so dad finally said, well, if you think you want to do that, you need to save up some money and move to North Carolina and get a job on one of those NASCAR teams. Because that's all I'd seen, Richard Petty and all that shit. So anyway, I did. And ended up getting a job with Childress when Ricky Rudd was driving. Didn't know a damn thing. The guy named Bob Gurrell kind of took me under his wing, and I'm telling you, that was entertaining because Bob is a character. He worked for the Petties, but he did cylinder heads, and that's what I started doing way back when. And hell, I ended up, I was 10 years in that stuff. I was crew chief for Trickle for a while, worked for KO, stood on the stage with Earnhardt, did all that. But I wanted to race. I wanted to be Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah, when's my turn to drive?
Yeah. So anyway, I ended up getting a damn bunch of guys in Madison, North Carolina wanted to build a dirt car. Said, if you'll build an engine, we'll build a car, just a street stock type deal. Big blocks back then you could run. I said, oh, hell yeah. Yeah. So obviously started doing that and started winning a lot in that and just kind of kept busting my ass with, obviously working for teams, spending my money trying to buy dirt cars and go to the next level. Ended up back here. So I did a lot of research and development for different teams after I left working full-time for teams on just cylinder heads. I met Larry Clark years ago in Knoxville, and he said, well, would you entertain coming back home? I said, no. He said, why not? I said, well, I've met a group of guys that I race with over there in the Carolinas, and I don't know anybody here. And he said, well, if you had some guys to help you, would you consider moving back and going to work for me? Sure. So he did, and I worked for Larry for a few years. Met a guy up here that was going to sponsor me, ended up going partners in my race engine business, and he wanted to sell parts. I didn't want to sell parts, so that was a couple of years, and I said, you take the parts, I'll take the engines, and started racing here at Bulls Gap in the late 90s. And I won, I don't know how many championships, 4 or 5 or
You're
something.
the all-time winner here at Bulls Gap, right?
Yeah. So Joe and Phyllis still own this place, and I'd helped them through the years just racing and then promoting a couple of races or just helping them out. But when all the things transpired with this place, it was going to be just shut down, and people in the industry were calling me, hey, what's going on with Bulls Gap? So I called Phyllis, and she said, Vic, I can't deal with it. Tell them you own it. So anyway,
because you don't have nothing going on.
No,
you got all kinds of free time.
And I had no idea what I was getting into. I mean, with the graders and I'd never driven a road grader, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of self-educating, and had raced with Flo, raced with XR, and everything's been successful. But the main thing I wanted to do is just get this racetrack back in the shape that it can be, because it's one of the raciest tracks in the country.
Well, I love this place. I've been here. I think the first time I came here was 20-something years ago. I seen a race here. I don't know if it was a Southern All-Stars or what was the old Southern SSR Southeast Regional, but it was you, Scott Sexton, and Billy Ogle.
Oh yeah.
And do you remember this race?
Oh, yeah.
I think you guys may have traded the lead 15 or 20 times in 25 laps.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was Ogle or Sexton, but his left front folded under and took the other one out, and Vic was like, "Oh yeah, I won this son of a bitch."
Yeah.
He was fighting for his life. I mean, they were, dicing all over that. I think that was the first time I come to Bulls Gap. So that was probably 25 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Hang on, let me turn it off.
Now that works good because you can answer it if you want.
Not answering.
Okay. Okay. With all the work that goes into a racetrack and running a business in the racing industry, when you said you didn't know what you were getting into, do you feel, I don't want to say grateful now, or are you more appreciative of what went on behind the scenes?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm talking from the bathrooms to the plumbing to the wiring to the generators, everything it takes to make this happen weekly. Or I'm doing it every other week. I think it'd kill me if I did it every week between the engine shop and this and all the shit I do. Anyway, it's gratifying. I mean, like that last race we had here with the sprint cars and all that stuff. And man, this place, they were racing all over. And you're kind of, you're proud, that you got the track back in shape and all that. And we've got people wanting to come here and race and help us do things. We got a lot of sponsors this week that up the purses and some things, and just makes it fun. Fun Saturday night.
Well, with the racing community in East Tennessee, because you guys are at one time you was a major late model hotbed, but it's still a late model hotbed with you with the 602s, the 604s, the steel blocks, the Sportsman, the 900 different style late models.
Right.
Because it don't matter what it is. Yeah. There's 900 different late models. With you being a guy that primarily builds super engines, how hard is it as you're promoting, say, okay, I got to have a crate class, or are you thinking, well, if I run more of a limited late model, I can build open motors?
Well,
I mean, how does that?
No, I don't. The crate deal never has really hurt us. It's its own entity, and we've got one of the engine builders that brings all his stuff, and we dyno and do all that stuff for him and tune. And I think the crate class is a good class. There's, my personal opinion, there's too damn many series of them.
Yeah.
They originally, when Stan started it 100 years ago, he said, "Oh, you're going to be able to buy a car for $5,000 and put this engine in it, and go out and run Vic Hill on the weekends." And I told him he was wrong, and he was. And all it did was make people spend a lot of money on a crate. Well, I think it's a great class for moving up, but what we've done here is we combine a crate with what we call a Sportsman. And we worked on this engine, it's been 8 years ago, and at the time, the cylinder head, everything that was on it, pretty much made the same power as a crate. But Joe Schmo could build it. People like to build their own stuff in their basement and come win the race. So I've combined those two to where on a weekly show, we're paying $1,500 to win the thing. And that's what I ran for with the Super years ago. But there's a whole lot of them, and it's a good competitive class. So I don't have two different ones.
Well, and that's why I was getting at that, because there's a lot of tracks down here. You got 7 cars in one, 8 in the other. Well, let's not just have 16 and have a full field, or close to a full field. I I'm from the Midwest, so one of my knocks about racing in the South is there's way too many divisions.
Yeah.
Like
It's like that. I mean, I'm not going to mention, but I know there's a track close to us. I think that may be, they got 8 or 9 classes. Well, you know what? Fans get bored with that, especially when there's 8 or 6 or whatever, and then it's just.
Well, especially also when they're uneducated fans and you got 8 classes of late models, they all look the same pulling out.
Yeah.
They don't know the difference.
They don't know the
between them.
difference. Yeah.
Well, between late models and, I don't know, stock this and modified this and stock that, and it's not
Mini
really
this, pure that.
it's like, okay, I don't want to be here till 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, I like to get the show done, and sometimes you're here later than you want to be, but 90% of the time we're, well, like our first weekly show, we only ran 4 classes. Well, we started at 7, at 10:30 we were done.
Yeah.
Well,
Tonight we've got 5. Last week was sprint cars and all that. It was midnight, but still, we weren't 3 or 4 in the morning.
Well, here's the thing. For somebody who travels the country, Kurt and I, we travel all over the country. I've been to close to 350 racetracks, all over. For somebody who is as a fan, before I got into it on this side of it, if I went to a place and they kept us there to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, the only way I'm going back if it's something I really want to see.
Exactly.
You know, because I mean, shit happens.
Yeah.
It does.
It
but
does.
I mean,
Like last night.
Yeah, last night shit happened for us. I mean, it was I got in at 4 o'clock. We got an hour and a half of sleep, 2 hours of sleep, and hit the road to come this way.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so we get it. We
I used
understand.
to do that.
Well, I used to do that a lot. That's my wife. She was making fun of me this morning. She was like, "Yeah, you're not going to function today." I said, "Right now it's good. It's later on it's going to suck."
Yeah.
With dirt racing evolving, and I know when you got this track, and I've heard an interview, or maybe I read an article. Flo come here, and the Kyle Larson race, you guys kind of promoted it together.
Yep.
And you said it brought life back into this track, but
It did.
But you didn't make anything off of it.
Well, no. See, that's a misconception. I did make. They rented the facility, and I made money. But I looked at how big of the show it was, and I didn't make. You know, the TV right now makes a lick. Yeah. You know, and it does, and they've got to have good entertainment. Flo's grown tremendously. XR, you know, hell, we had to close the gates when you had the racing.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if this sport keeps to evolve with as much as it costs, on the super end of it, okay?
Right.
As much as it costs to do this, there's a couple of things going on. You know, big half-mile tracks normally aren't a real good show.
Yeah.
These 3/8 mile, quarter mile are the good shows because our cars are so fast, okay?
Right.
With that being said, to have a 50,000 win event, you don't hold enough people in the stands, so the television has got to embrace that and get more of a, we're all in this together. It's
Well,
not that we're going to give you 10 grand and you're going to pay 80 grand purse. No, we need to do this together, whether it's Lucas or Flo or XR or whoever it is, where we all make kind of equal money, and it makes the promoter at that point want to do it.
Well, because I'm a big advocate for streaming. I love it.
I do too.
But I was, I was a person that grew up and, I traded tapes. I recorded every race you could see on TV. And my buddy, hey, did you get the World of Outlaws race? You know.
Yeah.
So I love it for that aspect. But I think that we have to have streaming though, because in order to keep kids at the racetrack, because the kids are on their phone 24/7.
Right.
And some kids don't know what a sprint car is or a modified or super late model, but they see Bobby Pierce's clip ripping the wall, and it's got 300,000 views in one day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword, really. I mean,
But it's like even here for tonight's show, even though the purse is what it is, 15 and under, 15 you can't drive, right?
Yeah.
15 and under gets in free.
Right.
In the stands. So, we did it on that first weekly show, and I actually saw a lot of just mothers coming in with 2 kids.
Yeah.
To watch the race, and so they're going to eat a hot dog. It's all going to be good at the end of the day. But you're trying to build a fan base back up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's lacking. Because when we were kids, we just, you didn't go to the racetrack.
Yeah.
We grew up at the racetrack.
Yeah.
Time
we could walk.
But once I did go, I was there all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Exactly.
I've missed all this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of flack because I said I wasn't going to start the hard question, but there are some people that say that, you're a phenomenal engine builder, but you hurt the racing world because you designed the wide bore engine. So
You got to be innovative, right?
Well, that's what I'm going to say. I want to ask you, it's a 2-part question.
Yeah.
1, how did you come up with the idea? And 2, I know this one is going to be kind of hard for you to answer because you sell them, but is it as big of a disadvantage? Do you think there needs to be more of a limitation on it?
No. And
I knew that was going to be the answer.
I do say one thing in this sport. I think we need to, and I've talked, I don't know, the past 6 years, because I still did cup stuff and all that and RPM. I think we need to get a handle on RPM. I don't think we ought to take anything away from where we're at now.
Right.
But I think 9,000 RPMs is plenty. Maybe 800, right?
Yeah.
So that keeps our valve trained to where we're not having to do something to go to the next level, because we got no rules on it.
Yeah. And
it will be expensive, and there's certain people that have that much money, but that hurts the sport. The wide bore engine, how I came up with that was I was doing all the R&D for Morgan McClure back then. Test driving their cars and all, I had a ball, honestly. And the cylinder head was one that GM had developed, but it never got approved. And I said, this thing would be a badass. Well, NASCAR's got a bore size rule, even though it's a 4 or 500 block. Well, we don't have a bore rule.
You can do whatever you want.
I said, this would be a badass. So, I mean, it took 2 years to get this developed, and the first 3 of them were billet blocks because they're one of a kind. But I bought every GM head there was because they quit making them.
Yeah.
And I'd done research and development for Edelbrock, and I was friends with Vic Edelbrock back then. So as this is going on designing this, I'd already been talking to him, I'm going to need a cylinder head. So long story short, we built 3 of them, and Scott Bloomquist got them. And that year he won the dream and just, I mean, had a phenomenal year. And there were certain people bitching a little bit about it, and I said, guys, there's no rule. We can run a big block if you want
Run whatever you want, yeah.
So did it hurt it? No. The cost of a standard bore spacing engine with the same components, it's going to be the same. The wide bore is not more expensive now because the crankshafts, the valves, the rockers, all that stuff, even though they may be a different offset or a different something, still the same quality piece. Right. So if I build a 430, regular standard bore 430 from the ground up and use the same quality parts in that as I do the wide bore, it's the same price.
Yeah.
So that's a misconception. Oh, that wide bore, it's too expensive. It's the same.
Yeah. Well, how hard is it to get parts for just anything you're doing right now? Because I know for a while during COVID, I think that was kind of it was a cop out on the people making the parts.
Yeah, it's still slow.
It's
still slow. But where that engine is our engine, like the cylinder head, the manifold, the camshaft, even the cam core's got the lobes in different places. So we don't call and order one. You know, we'll keep, like I about had a heart attack last year in December. We got 15 crankshafts in at one time, right before Christmas. Yeah. I was like, oh shit.
And that goes on last year's tax. I mean, so you don't had your write-offs.
Yeah. So, you know, yes, they are slower for sure, but not as bad as it was.
How hard was it working with Scott Bloomquist for all those years? Because everybody says he's hard to work with, and you got people say he was easy to work with. You just got to know him. Because listen, I know he's particular.
We were friends, and we got a different respect for each other a few times. I mean, he was kind of a pain in the ass certain times, like every one of us can be.
Yeah. Like your pack truck drivers right now.
Yeah.
We're trying to bring you in, boys.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. We still got 6 hours till race time.
Yeah. I see dust right there. I got to water more. Anyway, high bank track, water runs down.
Right.
I said, pack the bottom, boys, and they're up there in the middle, Anyway, it'll be fine.
Well, look at these banks.
Oh,
you want to run up top.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to run the bottom. What do you expect?
But anyway, Scott, so, you know, when I, just like a new marriage, right? When we first got together, it was great. You know, everything was the fucking greatest thing in the world, and he won like hell with it. Well, then, you know, if Scott didn't win, fucking thing, it needs more suds. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll tell you one story. This is a great story with him. So we had built a 415. He had like 8 engines, but anyway, he had a 415, and he put it in, went somewhere, and was horrible.
And it's your fault.
So he called me and said, that thing's a turd, it won't run a lick, blah, blah, blah. This is early in the year. I'm like, okay, whatever, put one of those other ones in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you got 7 more.
Yeah, and bigger. So anyway, we got through the whole year, and I don't know if he'd pissed everybody off or whatever, but he was going to Bardstown, Kentucky.
That's my neck of the woods.
And for a Lucas race, and didn't have any help. And he said, well, can you go? I'm like, yeah. He drove the truck and the whole deal. So we go up there, and I get there, and it's got this 415 in it. And I went, Scott, that's that engine you said's a pile of shit. It won't run. Oh, fuck, it'll be okay. So anyway, you know him, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So anyway, off we go to Bardstown. Well, he pulverizes them, wins the race. So we're coming back, and he's driving and goes, man, that engine's a bad son of a bitch. And I said, well, I guess that dust that was sitting on it from inside the shop made it a badass, because I said, we hadn't done anything to it, and last time he ran it was turd. Well, then, this is the classic part. He said, I think I'm going to take that thing to Eldora. I said, don't do that. I said, take your 440s or something.
Yeah.
No, hell no, I'm going to take it. Well, he does. Well, I'm racing at that time up there, right? And sure enough, here he comes over. After hot laps, he was in my hot lap session. And he comes over and goes, you're pulling me 4 car lengths down the fucking straightaway. And I said, I got a 450 cubic inch engine in. You got a 415. I said, go change it. He just looked at me like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
They changed it. But anyway.
That's funny. Well, that's because I know everybody always said, like, you know, he was super tough to deal with. But the few interactions that I had with him, you know, I thought he was super.
Yeah, we'd go on the lake and do shit. I mean, he was a fun guy. But now he was intense in his racing, obviously. Everybody that's that good is. And so when it came down to the race time, there was no dicking around, you know, maybe after it was over for sure. But he was all about winning, period.
So you build super late model engines, you build open wheel modified engines, you build big block modified. As you're shipping stuff all over the country, or the guys are coming to you, like, how much of it is a mindset like, all right, I gotta get Bobby Pierce stuff done.
Yep.
Oh shit, I got Tom Berry Jr. stuff I gotta get done. I mean,
you categorize it. I mean, you have to as they come in, and we've got a good system there. My wife's helped me with that for sure. Like when it comes in, there's a date of a rebuild, let's say, or even a new engine, but we've got everything dated, when they ordered it, when the anticipated delivery date is, and obviously you order parts. Let's say it's an engine that I didn't build new. So I don't know what's in it until I take it apart. Know what piston, compression height, all that stuff. So once we get that done, order the stuff, and we can give them a date. Hey, this is when the pistons are going to come in, and they'll say it's 4 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever it is. So, and you do jockey around, and sometimes you got to work a little harder or a little longer than you wanted to when some things happen. Like that, 6 years ago or 5 years ago, I had like 8 engines at Eldora.
that was a bad week.
Tear up. They cracked like a piece of pizza out of an intake valve. Every one of them did the same thing, so obviously it was a part. But I'm the engine guy, right?
Right. That'll make a
I didn't even watch the end of the race. I think Herb had I know he did. He's the only one to finish. I think he finished 3rd.
Well, that's because he was running around the bottom.
Yeah, exactly.
He wasn't cranking and shit.
But no, honestly, I thought he was going to blow up because he got it so hot in the B main. I said, "There's no way this thing will ever make it."
Yeah.
And so I checked. I was like, "Okay." Anyway, long story short, at that point, it's definitely no fun. I just went back and figured out the problem and switched valves.
Yeah.
Off we went.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I mean, no, but and the thing is I worked with the guys too. I didn't say, okay, this is $28,000, but I did it because it was, like I said, it was 7 or 8 of them, and it had me ready to commit suicide.
Yeah.
What is your plan for Volunteer? What's your main goal? Is it? I wanted to make this a top 10 track in the country. I mean, what is your goal?
Yeah, that would be great. Obviously, it needs some infrastructure maintenance because, I mean, the track. The way I've always looked at these racetracks, there's a lot of really nice facilities and a lot of shitty racetracks. Okay.
Right. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. No, we
already talked about that before.
We've kind of got a mediocre facility because it's so old.
Yeah.
And we got a hellacious racetrack.
Right.
So, you got to have support. You got to make money to be able to spend money, right?
Yep.
Well, that's all I've done from the first time I've been in here. It's not like I put any money in my pocket. I bought a grader and I bought a skid steer and I just did shit to keep the track in good shape. And of course we've had to put some lights in and just normal stuff, but it really needs, the stands right there. I painted them 2 years ago and you can't even tell because it's paint over paint over paint. And to take those and sandblast them and fix them and do all that, it's about $35,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it needs to be done to make it the next level.
Right.
Yeah, not the track, but just the stands appearance of it for
Yeah.
television. Well, that's what I was saying. When we have these big events, you got to make enough money not to say, hey, I made 10 grand. 10 grand is nothing.
Yeah,
when you're running one of these, buy a road grader.
Well, I was going to say, 10 grand will get you the 3 flat tires on the grader.
Thing right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might be able to get the axle fix on this son bitch is leaning over on us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, going for you don't own this, right? You still don't own
Joe
the
and
place?
Phyllis Levin.
They still own. Okay. Is there any time in the future where you say, you know what, this is my baby and I'm going to take it over? I want it, or is it oh man, I've got enough shit going on as it is?
I got enough shit going on as it is. I would, and there's other people that are looking at it, and I encourage them. I'll say, look, I would help anyone that had the money, but the problem is this land here is worth a lot. It's right on 81, right on 11 East. So to buy this as a racetrack, the land is worth more. So if you paid enough money to buy it, you better be, well, you need to be pretty healthy and have it as an investment, because it's going to be worth more money than what you're buying it for. But at this point, the racetrack wouldn't make the payment on what you had to give for it.
Yeah.
So it's got to be someone that's an investor that's got enough money to go, okay,
I can sit on this for 10 years.
I can sit on this, and in the meantime, it's going to pay me this much, and they could take it to the next level. I'm not saying that you couldn't have this to where you had 3 shows a year that would bring in 100 grand a piece, or 200, but it ain't going to do it right now.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that, because when we walked in, I walked in the front, and it's been about 3 or 4 years since I've been here. Actually, I tell you, last time I was here it was a midweek Ray Cook deal. Yeah, it was last time I was here about 2 or 3 years ago, and I said, man, this place is nice, but it could be really nice, because everything's there.
Yeah,
it just needs to be tidied up.
It needs fluffed up and painted and fixed. Like I said, to turn the power on at this place, I think every time they put a new light in, they put a box in somewhere. I'm telling you, you're a journey there, up on the top. There's 2 up there. There's 2. It took me a week to figure. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. How do I turn all this shit on?
Yeah. Like, hey guys, we need lights in the top pits. Yeah, you guess what? I need it on the damn front stretch too. Is part of these lights still on generator?
Yes. All the center lights are on the generator.
Okay.
And then all this inside is not.
Because I was here one night when the generator had problems.
Oh, wow.
And they...
Well, you can flip it on power.
Yeah.
But you better look in the stands before you do it and make sure you can pay the bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was here. I mean, it was probably 15 years ago, and I don't know. It was a Super Late Model event, but the generator, and I don't think there's enough people in because they called it that night.
Well, I'll say this: back in the late '90s, when before Joe bought it, where it didn't have the generator, we were racing, and the lights went out.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, just
and I was like right there. I was lucky I didn't wreck a few of them did, because it's like pitch black.
Well, it's a good thing you use right there and not right here.
Exactly.
If you was going in instead of coming off, shit would have been bad.
Yeah, really bad.
It'd have been really bad. How much? Speaking of racing, how much more racing are you going to do? I know you still dabble a little bit.
As much as I can. You know, that's the problem. Generations have changed. Just like you talk about kids looking at their phones. Before, when you go race, there are 4 or 5 guys wanting to go race with you and help you, and some of them didn't know shit and some of them did. But now, if you get someone that's going to go to the race with you, they go, how much you going to pay me?
Yeah.
And you go, well, what can you do? Well, I don't know. I can change a tire or something. So, and it's so expensive to do that, I mean, it really isn't the money for me, but it's getting the shit prepared. Because when I go, I still want to win.
Yeah,
right.
Nobody wants to go hang out.
I'm not gonna go, hell, I'm going to load this expensive bastard up and just go race. That's not what I do or want to do.
Right.
So, I don't know. We went to Tazewell and I-75 and got it tore all to hell. So it's on a jig right now. But
well, if you go to Tazewell, that's a very good possibility. It's either going to be really good or really bad.
Listen,
that's the way Taz is.
I have won races I shouldn't have there, and I've torn my shit up worse than I ever have there, but I love it.
Yeah,
my wife hates it, and my mom, but I mean, it's a fun place.
Oh, I love that place. I absolutely. I tell everybody, it may not be the raciest racetrack there is, but it's the most respected, right? Like when you walk in and watch a car go around, it don't matter what it is.
Yeah.
It could be the pure mini,
like
mod, it don't matter.
The last race. I mean, I was like 5th at a 1080.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ungodly fast. And I told Garrett Smith, which he finished 8th. I finished 9th because I broke and didn't finish. But, and there were 9 of us left by then. But I told him, I said, this is 75 laps. I said, there won't be 10 cars finish this. They'll tear shit up. And they did. And about lap 40 something, I thought, all right, here I'm gonna run like hell. Well, I broke my shit.
and Garrett rides by and says, "See, I told you.
Yeah.
Why don't you just ride a little bit more?"
Oh man.
I know you, like I said, you work with Garrett and you work with Bobby Pierce, and now that streaming is out there and Bobby Pierce wins 30 races a year, they like win on Sunday, call on Monday. Is that still a thing, or is it
kind of not as much?
Because the dirt late model world, it's not like the sprint car world. If a guy is struggling, they kind of work on it. Dirt late model world, if somebody's struggling, it's like, piss on this, we're getting all new shit.
Yeah.
It's not me, it's the car.
Yeah. Or the engine.
Yeah.
Like I said,
the engine builder's terrible. I mean, he didn't do his job.
Well,
the car.
I think, our engine package is different from a Clement's, right? I mean, it's just like Mike Marlar. He's got Clement's. He's got ours. There's a few people like that. Shannon Babb's got 2 of ours and got a Clement's. And I don't mind that because Clement's is ungodly on the amount of volume they do, and I know they're as full as they can get. I'm as full as I can get. Andy Durham's as full as he can get. You talk to Dak Cornett,
Right.
and I'm like, holy hell. So there's not a big, that damn Vic Hill engine did this or that. Bobby's good. Yeah. Engines are good. Bobby's good.
Well, that's what I said when
Garrett's good. They're Bab's good. It's just.
That's I've always said. I'm a Bobby Pierce defender. Everybody says he's a spoiled rich kid. I'm like, that kid works harder than anybody at the racetrack.
Yeah.
And another thing, it doesn't matter if he's in a Longhorn, if he's in a Rocket, if he's in his dad's car. People seem to forget for 5 years he kicked everybody's ass with one. There was one car.
Yeah.
It wasn't like there was 4 of them. There was one of them.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a lot of people perception is not reality,
right?
In all of dirt racing, it doesn't matter if you like. Last night we were watching non-wing sprint cars, and there's people behind us. This place, I can't believe they come and run here. I'm like, what do you mean you can't believe they come and run here? It pays $10,000 for a 30-lap race.
Yeah.
Why in the hell wouldn't you come and run? I mean, we really appreciate you coming on. Is there anything you want to address? Being in East Tennessee, 3,000 racetracks, or is it something where you just we'll just let it play out? Because I know there's so many tracks, and you guys not competing for the same thing, but we're like everybody needs to get on the same page. Yeah. I don't know how to ask that, but
pretty much, myself and Roger Sellers and all, we work together. Like he's racing tonight, we're racing tonight. It's the only time all year that we're up against each other. Taz will pretty much run. They're running tomorrow night. Yeah. But normally he does run on Saturday's weekly show, and he's done it for 30 years. Yeah. So. It is what it is. I-75, they've missed a couple of weeks of racing for whatever reason, and now they're racing tonight and got 8 or 9 classes, and they've got street stocks paying $2,000, so they should have a lot of them. So I don't know. If there were 4 tracks, and here's the problem, is I don't think you can race one time a month and own the racetrack
and make money
and make any money. So they got to race more than one time. So it's just I hope we get cars this week, and I hope we get cars this week and fans. And all I'm doing here is trying to make it a better show, and like the deal to get in the stands, and we got the juice box thing for the little kids to do tonight, and make it a fun,
make it an event,
entertainment.
Make it where you bring your family out and have some fun,
and
not spend a ton of money, but because you're gonna spend money no matter what you do.
Hold on, I said I was done. I do this a lot because you just said entertainment. How do you feel about inverts?
I think they suck.
As a racer, but as a fan, as a promoter, you still don't like them?
Here's the deal. Depends on the racetrack. So you get to certain racetracks, and you invert 6, you're not going anywhere.
Well, yeah.
Okay? They used to do that to me here. I'd start 6th, but still 1. Had me madder than hell every week. But they did.
But you drove the wheels off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did. I mean...
And guess what? Every time you won, the people sitting over there really liked it because you had to pass some cars. I always try to get everybody's opinion on it.
I think it is racetrack dependent.
Yeah.
Because like I said, some of these places you race here.
Well, like Tazewell.
You
don't
wouldn't
want
want
to
to invert
there.
If you inverted the heat races because they're so fast.
That's why you're going to tear stuff up.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, we catch the back of the field fast enough there.
Yeah, exactly.
Another thing we discuss a lot is when people bitch about track prep. And I see you here waving guys in, watering the track, and we're going to let you go so you can go do more track prep. But as you, I'm under the. I got a different thing about track prep. I say the promoters have been doing what they've always done. I think the cars are so hooked up and everybody's running such on the right front that the shit's bottoming out, tearing the track up. It's not that the racetrack. I mean, you guys are putting the same amount of water, using the same grader, same pack trucks. What's your opinion on that?
We're not tearing this one up.
Well, that's good.
I mean, even the sprint cars, it was smooth as glass. A lot of that is where you are in the country and what the dirt is.
Yeah.
Like I talked to a guy the other day about, I don't know, he's some dirt guru, and he got online and showed me, because I told him where I'd gotten a lot of this dirt to put on here, and it bonded real good. And he said, well, I bet it's blah, 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 blah. And he got online on his computer and showed me, and you can actually pinpoint places all over the country. And it'll tell you exactly what it is, how much silt and whatever the hell's in it, and abrasive and
that's big words on me. Like, when I look at dirt,
too, but I was like, well, I must have found some good ones because this kind of stuff.
I found some good stilky here.
Yeah.
because like me, I look at a track and I'm no expert by any means, but I can tell. Okay, that's going to be a little rough there. That's going to be smooth there. You look down the front stretch where the sun's shining. All right, it's going to be a little slick going in one, but it's going to be hammered. So I don't understand. But I know a lot of people. They always the promoters aren't doing their job. And I've seen you out here this week, 4 nights this week, working on the track. So
that's one of the things. You're not going to show up
on your side for that.
You're not going to show up Saturday and water it and have a track that's worth of shit.
Right, yeah.
So that was another thing about the dirt guy. He told me, he said, well, certain ones of them, it takes 1,000 minutes for it to go 3 inches into it, and just different dirt does different things.
It's like me. It takes 1,000 minutes to go 3 inches. Yeah, I know that feeling.
Not gonna get the math. How many hours is that?
But all right, well, we really appreciate it. Thank you for coming on, and guys. If you're in the East Tennessee area, it's worth the drive. Stop in and see Vic. If you're in market for an engine, he'll gladly accept it. But just you're going to be kind of on the back order. He's got a lot going on. I'll put that out there for him. He don't got to say it. I will. But we really appreciate. We don't know how many track championships he's got here, but we're going to say the winningest driver in Volunteer Speedway history. And if you got a problem with that, come here and see him. He works out every day, and he'll take you up on that offer. All right, we appreciate it. Thank you, Vic.
Right, thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, Vic.
See.
There you go. That was Vic Hill from Vic Hill Racing Engines / Vic Hill Engine Builder / Vic Hill Track Prep / Vic Hill Track Promoter. Vic Hill is a man that wears many hats. One cool thing about when we were doing this interview with Vic, they were prepping the racetrack while we're doing the interview. So that's the noise you hear in the background. But they're prepping the racetrack, and Vic Hill's pointing to guys to the left, pointing to guys to the right, discussing building engines for Scott Bloomquist, running up and down the road with Bobby Pierce, working on the excavator while we're there. But Vic Hill, one of the good guys in the racing industry that does this because he loves it. Yes, he makes a living, and yes, he's a major supporter in dirt late model racing world, with building as many engines and stuff as he does. But he talks about what it takes to run a racetrack, what it takes to make sure that the racetrack makes money to keep going back and forth. Very fascinating interview there, because that's a guy that, come from a different world, didn't grow up in the racing industry, fell in love with the sport, and worked his way from the top to the bottom, so to speak, because grassroots racing is on the lower level. It's not the NASCAR Formula One IndyCar stuff, but he started at NASCAR, then worked his way to where he started his own deal. And a lot of guys, they hear Vic Hill Racing Engines and they think Bobby Pierce, Scott Bloomquist, Shannon Babb, Garrett Smith, but what they don't think is Vic Hill was a 5-time Volunteer Speedway track champion. He's the all-time winningest driver in the history of Volunteer Speedway. That's been up for about, I'm going to say, I think the racetrack's 50-something years old. So, and with a lot of good racers that come through that area. So Vic Hill, we appreciate you taking your time, and because we know you got a busy schedule. Your phone was ringing off the hook while we were doing the interview. But thank you for taking the time. Let's sit down and chat with us on the busy schedule. This week's upcoming events, this is probably one of the best weeks of racing in our area. When I say our area, it's southern Indiana, northern Kentucky, central Ohio area. But USAC, Indiana Midget Week, starts off Tuesday night at Circle City Raceway. I'm going to try to make probably 3 or 4 of these events, so we'll see what the weather does. If my wife's not ready to kill me yet, because the last 3 weeks we have been on the road nonstop. But USAC, Indiana Midget Week, Tuesday night, Circle City Raceway. We'll try to make it up there to that. Wednesday night at Paragon. Paragon's not very doable for me on a Wednesday night because of logistics, getting off work and everything. So Wednesday night, I'll have to catch Paragon on Flow. Every one of these events will be on Flow this week. And the best thing about USAC Indiana Midget Week is just 2 divisions of race cars. The USAC National Midgets, which roughly around 40-ish car count, is usually what Midget Week is. And then we also get close to 40 non-wing Indiana sprint cars. And a lot of the USAC guys will double dip and run both cars because they're already at the racetrack. So quite possibly the best week of racing in all of Indiana. Almost better than Sprint Week, because Sprint Week you don't get the midgets with them. Wednesday they will be at Paragon Raceway. Thursday at Lincoln Park Speedway. USAC is actually running Lincoln Park now, so they've made some major improvements there. So Thursday the USAC midgets will be at Lincoln Park. The trifecta, the nightcap, so to speak. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the weekend extravaganza. Friday night, Bloomington Speedway in Bloomington, Indiana. If you've listened to this show before, you know how much we praise and love Bloomington Speedway, along with Saturday night at Tri-State Speedway. Top 5 racetrack in the country, in my opinion, is Tri-State Speedway right there in Hampstead, Indiana. And then Sunday, people talk about this place all over the country, but Kokomo Speedway will be the final night of USAC Indiana Midget Week. So you have 6 grueling days of midget and sprint car racing, starting at Circle City and ending at Kokomo and all over the state in between. So if you're an open wheel fan, please get out and support at least one of these events, if not all of them. I know it's tough to hit all of them, but if you're living in the Indianapolis area, they're all very doable. It just takes a little bit of effort, but you got USAC Indiana Midget Week, one of my favorite events of the year. And then the Dirt Late Model World, we're not going to forget about you guys this week, especially since Vic Hill is on here. Vic Hill is a major contributor in the Dirt Late Model World, but it's the Dirt Late Model Dream Week, starting off Wednesday night. The Flow Night in America is at Eldora Speedway, $20,000 to win on a Wednesday night. And then we follow that up with Dirt Late Model Dream Preliminaries, night number 1, Thursday night, $30,000 to win. Night number 2, Friday night, preliminary night number 2, $30,000 to win. And then it's capped off with the big one, the Dirt Late Model Dream, $100,000 to win. The Dream 100, Saturday night at Eldora Speedway. So if you guys are heading to Eldora, please be safe. Don't do anything goofy, because I know Eldora, the parties get wild. So you guys take care of yourself. It's going to be warm this weekend. Make sure you stay hydrated with things other than just Busch Light and Coronas and whatever else you decide to drink. Make sure you stay hydrated and take care of yourself. We talked about it earlier. We're going to do some video. We got some new equipment. We're going to do some live 1-2 minute shorts, video clips. We're even going to do some previews of our guests. We'll put it out throughout the week. We got some new equipment. We're working on some stuff. We're going to, and for the Cumberland Plateau Open Modified Series, I know a lot of drivers and fans, follow along with us. We're going to try to do a lot more social media presence and get things out there for you guys, little short videos, drivers interviews. I've just now figured out how to get all the equipment to work, so now we're going in the right direction, so we're going to do that. But thank you to each and every one of you that support us each and every week. We really appreciate it. Our numbers are growing each week, and we say this all the time, word of mouth is the best form of advertisement. And thank you for telling people about us, liking, sharing. You can find us each and every week on Facebook. Myself, Bobby Puckett. You can also, follow Kurt Bennett on Facebook. We have a Trade and Sliders Facebook group and the Trade and Sliders Facebook page. We're also on Instagram. We're on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, at One Trade and Sliders. You can find us on YouTube at One Trade and Sliders as well. And each and every week, these shows go out via Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and last but certainly not least, you can find us on the Dirt Tracker Racing website. Justin Fiedler and them at Dirt Tracker have reached out, and we have a working relationship. So, share the love, tell people about us, and until next time, we'll be trading sliders.